But I had to make it, and do it myself. I wasn't handed it. Everything I've ever done, I've made it make happen, because I self-produce.
Welcome to the SGV Master Key, a show where you will hear personal stories of triumph over failures and how others successfully navigated the unique landscape that is the San Gabriel Valley. What makes us different? Well, just like you, we have chosen the San Gabriel Valley for our home or businesses or both. We believe it is the people and small businesses that make this community great, and we love to share their stories with you. We always encourage your questions and feedback, and you can find all of our contact information at sgvmasterkey.com. Here are the hosts for the show, Russell Mono and Scott Warmoth.
All right, welcome back to another episode of the SGV Master Key. We're always glad for you to spend this time with us, and we hope to bring you another interesting guest on the show today. The connection to this guest today is high school, and high school for me is, I think, quite memorable. I think for most people it's quite memorable, right?
I think it's that one period in your life that you carry with you for the rest of your life, all the things you did right, all the things you did wrong, you never forget it. Sure. And it kind of shapes your future in a way.
I've not gone to any high school reunions. I don't know that I will, but it's always interesting to run into people and see what they're doing, see what they're up to. That's always really fascinating to me.
Yeah, I've never gone to a high school reunion either. I guess, there are some people that want to escape it and move on, I mean, it's still always there in your life, but you want to move on from high school. And there are some people who are still, quite in those groups that they've never broken out of. So,
Sure. Well, a number of guests on this show have been classmates of mine in high school, maybe not the same year, but they've definitely gone to the same high school, and their connection to the San Gabriel Valley is sort of, born from this area.
Yeah, having grown up and
sure.
Right.
And today's guest, we went to the same high school. I wouldn't say that we hung out in high school, but is definitely from the San Gabriel Valley and a native of the San Gabriel Valley, I believe Montebello, right? Mm-hmm. But today we have radio personality and host of his own show, The Morning Show, on ABC 1490 AM KMET, Aaron Sanchez. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here and excited and exhilarated. And it's funny when you talk about high school and you're just talking about shaping. Yeah, it's you don't think of it that way, and I don't think you really want to move on, but you kind of see your friends in a different light when you see them later, and you're like, how do I know you? And then there's this like gap where you don't want to see each other because they know you as you, and then you're trying to do a different persona, and then you see them later, and then you're like, you want to go back to yesteryear because you're like, those were some of the funnest moments in life, right? Like you got to just hang out.
Sure.
Well, I just actually was up in Seattle last week where I grew up and spent 3 days with a high school friend. We traveled to Eastern Washington and over to Idaho. And it's amazing, because here we are 48 years after graduation. But he's one of my closest friends. Mm-hmm. And in a way, it's funny, we get in the car and drive to Idaho, and it's like we were driving in high school. The conversations are the same. His mannerisms are the same. Mm-hmm. I suppose my mannerisms are the same. Right. You just see like nothing's changed, except he's, moved on, and, his 2 kids are fully grown. My 2 kids are fully grown. And, mm-hmm. It's funny how you still can revert even after you've had this whole lifetime.
Yeah, it's funny because I was supposed to go to Sure High in Montebello, and they had in that year canceled drama, and I knew I loved being able to act. I knew I loved theater at that point because I was in a little theater thing at Macy Intermediate. It was called Gaston, or in Beauty and the Beast, and I knew I loved drama, but my parents were smart and they did the research. It was gone at Sure High, so they said, we're gonna help you out, and we're going to have you go to Mark Heppel where they have drama at. And I was like, great. So I went literally 3 days to Sure High. Next, they're like, we're moving you out to Mark Heppel. So I wasn't supposed to go to Mark Keppel, but I went to Mark Keppel and I ended up becoming an actor, at least in the theater there. But that was my fun couple of years that I was there. I ended up going into home studies later, so I didn't actually graduate from Mark Keppel in the 95 year that I should have. But I enjoyed my time there so much that it kind of, although I never went into fully acting at that time, it's funny how everything comes full circle later with something that you love back to something I did love in high school. And I've been able to have little acting parts from here to there and kind of get and immerse myself in the Hollywood area because we're literally in the center of it all. And that's kind of been, it's funny that you say that, how like things kind of shape, even though you don't know where they're going, how they end up, now I do radio, but I never set out to do radio. So, but my love was there at Keppel, which was drama,
Well, yeah, you were lucky then that
that
you did make that change, and was that really fulfilling to you? At the time, your high school experience and the drama classes you were taking.
Absolutely, it allowed me to be whatever I didn't know I wanted to be. It was like whatever was on the script of just, okay, what is this? What is it? And it's a very emotionally involved thing, and depending on the type of because we had drama, and I've gone back to see one of the teachers who later became, I think, vice principal, Dennis Nasitka, and I asked him questions about drama and such, and it was pivotal for me, I believe, in my high school years, freshman and as a sophomore, to just shape what I enjoyed doing, and then being able to just be free with it, as actors usually are. You get to be it, do it. It's different than TV acting or other, because you've got stage and everything's new and everything's in the moment, and anything can happen. And Tony's Donuts, which you had on here, Tony and I was in a drama together, and you don't know how many lines he'd forget in the middle of a live production. I'm like, so, and
then
but
you have to improvise.
We'd improvise, and then I'd be like, can we, in so many ways, look at him like, can we go back to, you missed a page and a half? Can I redirect you? And but to see Tony be able to go from, and I know that he was excellent, by the way. He was 100%. He always dumbed himself down, like, oh, I'm not that good. But he was the ones that dumbed themselves down. And there was another jock, David Lamone, which was football guy. But when he did drama, he just shined. And then there was Terrence Yin, who was also excellent. He and I did a thing, and now, and talk about watching something later on. I saw, what was it? Tomb Raider with Angelina Jolie. And I'm like, why does that guy look so familiar? And then I go, I feel like that's Terrence, which I went up against him for an acting role in the play Deadly Nightcap. And I saw him in this, and I go, and I looked for the end credits. I go, yep, that's Terrence. And then I looked him up. I go, the guy came from royalty of acting. His mother's a very big actress, I believe, in China culture. And I was like, he was going to Mark Keppel? I was wow. And then I go, and I wasn't doing any acting or anything at the time. I was just doing sales. And I was like, what have I done with my life? I almost felt because I think when you're in that. Oh, it was an awakening, huh? It kind of was almost. Yeah. It was like, well, wait, if Terrence could, and he and I were going up against the same part, it was neck and neck as to if he was going to be the detective or the bad guy. But he plays the bad guy always really good. And he ended up getting that role. And I just remember I enjoyed acting opposite of him because he was the bad guy. Got to, make sure the bad guy gets their thing. And, but when I saw him in Tomb Raider, I'm like, what have I been doing with my life? I had that moment, and so, but right. I didn't go and start acting or auditioning. I let it go. And then 3 to 4 years later, things just kind of started to throw me in that direction. And I said, okay, well, I enjoy it. Why not? So you really enjoyed it during high school, but then you went into sales or something, different than what you. Well, I ended up going into preaching the Bible. So I did that as a teenager, and I did that for a while. And I said, okay, well, the two probably don't mix. And so I went that route. And then I went very heavily into that. And then, I got married at a young age, 19. And then, you got to pay, you got to settle down and you got to pay the bills, and sales is what I ended up doing very quick and fast. And so I did that for a good, ever since forever, actually, really. Once you do sales, you never lose it.
Yeah, no, it's a good skill to have.
Yeah.
Can we back up before the high school and drama? You were born and raised in Montebello. Mm-hmm. And what were the things in your life like? What was that growing up in Montebello that formed you this interest in drama?
Yeah, I was born in Montebello, Poplar Street, actually. And, but I didn't know I was born in Montebello until later when I think I did like 5 or 6 year old, you do where you were born, I'm like, I don't know where I was born. And I didn't see it till recent. I grew up in different parts, Laverne. And then I think, Neil Armstrong was where I really grew up in Montebello. And that was, across from the Montebello Town Center. And it wasn't until I hit Macy Intermediate, my intermediate of, 8th grade, where I learned I loved drama. I think in Potrero Heights, I went to Potrero Heights, and you know what? It does go back to my elementary school because I was a scarecrow in Wizard of Oz, So, but I didn't take it seriously, right? I was giant, what was it? James and the Giant Peach. I always got some of the lead roles as support roles, and I never really thought of it like, oh, I love drama. It just would happen. Does that make sense? Like, but it wasn't until I got into 8th grade when all of a sudden I auditioned. I didn't want to be Gaston. I wanted to be the Beast because he doesn't have to sing an ounce. I do not have a good voice. Uh-huh. So I did a couple lines for only the Beast, and I get the deep voice, the Beast, get that growly. And this other kid auditioned, and he was like super high pitched, but he was the choir boy, and I'm like, he could be Gaston. Obviously, he's a great singer. I'm not. And the teacher at Macy Intermediate, I kid you not, she pulled me in like in the middle of class. I thought I was in trouble, and she's like, I want you to sing some like notes. She did the little piano, and she goes, okay. She do this, do that, and I go, okay. And then something clicked in me, and all of a sudden she's like, okay, you have a deeper voice than most people. You can get there at your baritone. I can work with your inability to sing, I think is what she wanted to say. And I was like, no, this isn't going to work. I don't sing. Like, this isn't going to work. And but I found my inner Gaston, and it all of a sudden became such a great feeling performing that and being that and come here, LeFou, and it just, it transferred.
Do you have to go into a different person to do it? I mean, you have to stand outside of yourself or remove yourself from yourself to have the courage to act, or sing. I hated the singing part. Every time there was a singing part, because I knew I couldn't like do the typical, the very. I think whenever it came to the singing, that was where I was like, oh God, we have to go for this. But when I was just in the moment of, Belle, there's not a girl in town who would not love to be in your shoes. It was like that just came, and I don't know if I was kind of impersonating the obvious Gaston, which I had to be able to go with. It was just in the moment. I never really thought. You enjoy the moment and you're in the moment. Like in theater. And I've done, some screen acting, but it's very minute. It's not as big. Theater is very big and very bold, right? But screen acting is very just in the moment. You're not acting, you just are, right? I don't think you think of yourself as being outside or looking in. You have to character develop the person, and then going through acting friends, they're like, okay, what does that mean to you? You have to personalize it to you because you're not that person. You can't live that person's life. But the feelings are transferable, and everybody feels the feelings differently. So when you got to get there emotionally, like with the scene, you get there in your mind. Some people are method actors, and they become. I think there are those that kind of get outside of their body and kind of let somebody else kind of like, take channel, somewhat, and then they become that. But it's a fine line depending on what you're going for in the end and what works best for you, whether it be theater or in. Some of the best greats of actors, and when I interview them, are just those that love just being in the moment and letting the scene take place. And some of the best actors and directors are the ones that just let it be in the moment, with no direction. Just we know where we're going. Yeah, that makes sense.
We know where we're wanting to get, and let's get there. But let's see how many ways we can get there.
It's just a more natural way to approach it. Just right.
Yeah.
I'm fascinated that somebody would want to be on a stage like that with people looking at them. I only say that because that would be terrifying for me, and it is terrifying. Like I would rather not be on the camera right now. I just don't like that, and it's fascinating that there are people that they thrive in that and they really enjoy that.
I started at a young age. I grew up with my family. They are very devout Jehovah's Witnesses, and in the Christian congregation of Jehovah's Witnesses, it's typical for you to start reading the Bible in a public forum known as, church or a kingdom hall, publicly at the age of 7 or 8, just, reading the Bible. Right. So my dad taught me how to, because it drove me, like I was at first very, afraid, but I see other kids and other people doing this, and they would read the Bible on a stage and do that. So I think that was my earliest entrance of that. But now that I think about it, I was always performing as a little kid with stuff. And so I guess part of it, I get that, but I've also seen ones be very nervous and then get out of that slowly but surely, because it's practice, it's repetition. And then it's just going, you know what, it's still fine just being, I mean, and some, if you think too much of what they're thinking, then you get nervous. But when you just are, it says, okay, we're just gonna have a good conversation. Let's have a good conversation. You're doing great. I would rather have the camera. You know what? Where's the camera? I'm going to direct it on you.
You want cameras on you all the time?
No, you know what? To be honest, when you do radio, the best time is not to have cameras on you. But in this day and age, you need cameras on you, because I come from radio, and people often, when I get interviews coming in, we just had one with Lou Ferrigno yesterday, and his publicist says, well, you guys said you were radio. I go, yeah, but we're online too, so we do video. So can you connect us with your Zoom? Not just audio, which is normally like a phone in, and then they do a radio, right? Mm-hmm. So I had to really early on just adapt to only doing video and then getting the audio and making that go for radio or online. And that was when YouTube was really at its infancy, and live streaming, and before we have Facebook Watch and live, I got into that very early on by accident. And then that took me into the radio world, and then that took me into the online world, and that takes me into like multi-broadcasting onto all the different platforms. And now that phones have the ability to do, you're always on somebody's camera anyway. So you have to kind of almost, unless you're like a spy or an FBI agent, or an officer of the law, and you don't want people to know where you're at, you kind of almost have to adapt,
So there's the online world, there's radio, there's TV, there's the world of drama. Mm-hmm. Okay, all these areas in does entertainment, is that sort of the umbrella of all of this kind of thing? I mean, the entertainment world is radio, it's TV, it's even digital, it's, I don't know what else.
It's storytelling. It's storytelling done in different, I did a talk one time to a group of actual journalists and broadcasters, and it's called transmedia, right? I think what you're asking, and I hope, is, what is the new form of entertainment and or listening to the radio? Talk radio, for example, is talk radio, but it's evolved. You see it now on TV channels such as I could think of a few off the top of my head, like ESPN does talk, but sports talk, right? Mm-hmm. And they're done, kind of at the same time where you have a radio, but they put the cameras in. Now it's a television show. You're like, what is that really, right? Okay, yeah, it's a form of entertainment, right? Or knowledge or information.
Or communications.
There you go.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Right.
So communication has evolved, just like the old, what was the crank up phone? Now it's an iPhone or an Android. It's evolved in such a way where we tell stories and we try to engage with people, and hopefully they'll want to listen or learn something.
So what do you do exactly now? So what is your day like? What is your job?
Yeah.
How do you describe your position?
Yeah, well, I get several positions kind of. Sometimes I'm called the executive producer. Sometimes I'm called the host. Sometimes I'm called whatever I need to be in the moment. I've consulted for radio stations and helped them kind of turn around from just on air, over the air broadcast to full on production studio sets with video and cameras and audio. I've had to learn by doing. I never went to school for this, but I always ask the questions: how do you do this? How do you do that? How do you do this? How do you do this? How do you make it work? Where I live now in the San Gabriel Valley in Monterey Park, I do it out of my bedroom, and I have a backdrop and people think I'm in the office, but I stream my show from a good high-speed internet connection over to KMET, which is over in San Bernardino. They broadcast it over the air on the radio. You turn to 1490 AM. They now have an FM transmitter out there or FM. And we send our audio to them. I take that video and I rebroadcast it using thank God for computers, onto Facebook, onto YouTube, onto LinkedIn, onto Periscope TV, which is owned by Twitter. And then I used to broadcast it or reroute it to a TV station where they would pick it up because everything's internet enabled now, especially the newer ones. And you could send it to a TV station in Seattle, for example, if you have a TV affiliate member that says, look, we can take your live feed and everything that you do there, we could send it through the internet to our TV broadcast audience. It is so interchangeable what you can do right now. It's amazing. You just have to be able to get the licensing, the agreements, and all the people that want to, A, see your show and or B, learn your type of commitment. Like here you've got Pasadena. I can think of something really great. They have the Pasadena online, not online channel. It's a TV channel. There's a studio down the street actually. It's a nonprofit. It's good for the community, but you could get on their TV channel right now with this.
With this?
Yeah.
Why don't we do that?
I think we should. I just thought about it. And it's great. I have good friends with them. I actually did that back to the transmedia. I did a speech down the street right there at, they were all meeting and they brought in a bunch of broadcasters from all over the States right there at the, what's that on? I want to say not La Brea, maybe it's La Brea at the Hilton right there.
Oh, right over here in
just down the street.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. Because everybody knows you're in Pasadena, right? So
yeah. Oh yeah. Okay. Right. We can even say we're on Orange Grove. We're near Old Pasadena,
which is the home of the forever Tournament of Roses Parade.
That's
which I
right.
think you got the thing right down the street, right?
Right in front here.
Yeah, right
is
there.
Where it starts. Yeah.
Tournament of Roses Parade. Come on, that's world renowned.
Yeah.
So we're in the heart of it.
Well, so your core activity then is a radio show on KMET.
Yeah.
And what hours do you broadcast?
Thank you. Every morning, weekdays at 8 a.m., me and my co-host do the morning show. I used to produce another show called the Hollywood Social Lounge, where we would just focus only on entertainment. But lately, it's all been about coronavirus. Yay.
So it's topical items, news items?
Or? Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like yesterday we had, as I mentioned, Lou Ferrigno, and he was discussing, ear plants, or ear implants, I should say, for hearing, because he's profoundly deaf. And, although he's the Hulk, he learned to speak. And there was something I didn't even know that he shared. He got bullied as a kid and such. But, now I think they call them cochlear ear plants.
Oh, I've heard that.
Yeah. And it's.
Well, it's a muscle. I believe that's a muscle in your ear, right?
It's a digital version, which is better than typical ear hearing aids, which changes it so it's not ambient sound, but it's very directional sound. And so, he's on there to promote that. So we get people that promote, and then today we learned about, the other day. So we learn all kinds of stuff. We have authors on, we have, what's happening with the new discovery. Kidney failure. You don't want to get a chronic kidney disease. How do you deal with chronic kidney disease? They now have a new treatment in 20 years. We had them on the show this week. So it's topical, it's informational, and it's late breaking.
And you work with a co-host.
Yeah, I have my co-host.
Who's not in your bedroom.
No, thank God. No, he's not in my bedroom. No, and I don't think he wants to be. No, but the audience doesn't. I mean, the audience knows now, but
Yeah. Well, there was a show, Kevin and Bean, that was very popular. And I don't think people knew that either Kevin or Bean lived in Seattle the whole time of the show.
They? Yeah.
Was not living in LA, but they were the sort of the most popular team of their time, I think.
Well, we rebroadcast Dave Ramsey. I love Dave Ramsey, but he's East Coast. He has a studio out there, and but it doesn't nowadays. You can do it as long as you have A, the right team, and B, the right cameras, and C, the right audio, which you have all three. So
you've got your show, and so it originates on KMET, but then you yourself will then retransmit it other places.
Yeah, so I produced my own show, and I produced other shows, and so yes, I always tell people make use of the online world because you can reach out beyond. We've had people from Nepal tuning in. We talk about India, and there's people from India tuning in.
And we have a listener from France.
I believe it.
Yes,
yeah. I've been interviewed in Scotland and Europe, and places where you're like, the world is so interconnected. You don't want to just think locally. You want to think regionally, and you want to think internationally, because you never know where they're going to come from and how they're going to enjoy your content. Like I'm a fan of you guys. I subscribed on YouTube. Everybody should.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah,
even I should. I don't even know how to get to YouTube.
I do it on your phone. Just download the app so you can watch it.
I was telling my friend over the weekend, the guy from high school, that I have a podcast, and then he asked, "Okay, can you show me how to get to it?" And, I couldn't even explain how to get to it. So it's like, I'm a useless ambassador of the podcast.
Nah, you have a great team that just have to show you. Send them this.
Yeah. Please send it up to my friend.
Oh, this is sort of off topic, but I saw on the Chamber Zoom breakfast this morning a digital business card that the phone will recognize, and all the links will come up automatically.
Yeah, you tap it or something,
yeah,
right?
So like website, Instagram, YouTube, everything. You just go like that.
Really?
Yeah.
Thinking about getting that.
Yes.
You could use that for your...
I should use that. Here, go to the DM. I've thought of going to the Pasadena DMV and just you guys are online, go watch our show.
Yeah, right.
Or those sign bearers for $10. Can somebody hold up the morning show, weekdays
at
8 a.m.?
Oh, yeah, right.
Yeah.
Well, we ask each guest, Aaron, to bring an item of significance with them. Mm-hmm. And what did you bring with you today?
It took me a while. I'm not going to lie. And I said, you know what? I'm going to take, and it's so beaten up. It really is. But this is the mic that I've been using ever since I first got into this, to be honest. And my uncle hooked me up with it, and it's broken down a couple of times. But it's almost like, as simple as this thing is, and this is something we did for branding, but it was honestly just the mic. And if you look close, it's beaten up. It really is. But it's dependable. It's great because it's directional, and in a large, because we've done red carpets, we've done Jean-Claude Van Damme, we've had Edward James Olmos, we've had Isai Morales, we've had Ron Perlman, all on a mic like this, which was really this one. And I always choose this one because some of the mics pick up the ambient sound, but I was always able to get, no matter how loud it was, always right up and, ask them the questions and then get the answers. And this mic has gone with me in this form everywhere. And it wasn't until later we got smart. People always go, well, who are you with? I'm like, we're with these guys, so, but I had to make it, and do it myself. I wasn't handed it. Everything I've ever done, I've made it make happen, because I self-produce. I'm envious of the ones that are given contracts. I don't have a contract, but I've had fun doing what we do with our team whenever we did do it back, coronavirus hasn't made it easier, but, Emilio Rivera, I think of all the people that have spit on this particular, as they're talking, but seriously, it's funny what the mic can, like this, the spoken word, the voice, and how much the importance really is people. We're fascinated, and if you're not fascinated, you'd want to be fascinated with people, because we're interconnected on this planet, and we really need to start working together as friends, as colleagues, as people that transmit knowledge and give information to each and everybody, so that everybody can finally say, look, we need to work together. We can't be divided. We have to figure out the Earth's problems, the universe's problems. Every problem that we think we have, we got to do it together. We're on this earth for a divine purpose, to know we're interconnected, and we just have to have dialogue and conversation.
And you can inquire into a lot of that with your show now. You've got an open, pretty much
open forum,
open mic, huh?
Yeah, exactly.
Do you have pictures of of maybe this in the face of someone famous?
I do. A lot of them. Yeah. This is the mic, with or without this.
Yeah.
This is the mic in the majority of the interviews. And, and I think the funny part is it's when you put the mic down, the conversations that you have after when the cameras are off, and the friends that you make, forever friends. I'm connected with a lot of them on Facebook and Instagram and YouTube. And sometimes I never get to talk to them, but sometimes we see each other's stuff, and sometimes they'll do a little like, and I'm like, oh, good to see you. And I do it like there. And there's a lot of knowledge to be had by those that have paved the way for others, either in cinema or in Hollywood or online or new YouTubers or,
who are some of your heroes? Mentors or heroes, or just someone you have aspired to be or to meet? Or
God, some of them have died. I wanted to meet Stanley. Got a chance to meet him, I think, a couple months before he died, and interview him quick. It was quick, but it was monumental for me because I thought of how much this man had done for so much of the world and for generations to come, to bring iconic characters to life. I think I appreciate it when I was in the moment, but they literally says you have one question to ask. And I'm like, what's the one question I'm going to ask Stan Lee? Because you have like a billion questions that you want to do. And it was at the Stan Lee's Kamikaze Expo in LA when they were allowed. And when I met him, it was so quick and fast. But at the end of the interview, and I clipped it off at the interview because I thought it was a little self-serving, but he said something to me that I'll never forget. You do this really good. You should keep doing this. And I always have moments where I think, I got to stop, or I got to do something else, or I got to do something with paying the bucks in the big buck arena. But it's moments like that keep me moving forward, when some people say, and they're genuine. And when Stan Lee tells you something, he doesn't do it just, he was always very gracious, loving, but most of all, very honest-hearted, and I think a man like that, who spent the time, no matter how big he was, you never thought, I think, oh, he doesn't have time for me, because he'd make the time. It was his publicists and journalists and other people that were like, you got to be quick, we don't have that much time. And he answered like several questions, and he prolonged it a little bit longer than they allowed me. And sometimes people do that on the red carpet. Back to your I got a lot like that. And I have mentors too that I could thank, but the list goes on forever and a day. I think I'd have to thank, honestly, my stepdad for being there with me at the very beginning, getting me, I believe, out of my comfort zone. A memory that comes up to me really quick is him taking me back to the church that I attended as a youth. In order to speak there, he took me there when nobody was there, and let me get onto the podium, at that time, because the podium's way high, and as you're a little kid, so they give you a little step stool to be able to, see above the little portion and have the Bible. He says, okay, I'm going to be in the back, read to me out loud. I said, okay. And it was good because I didn't get that fright of being in front of everybody. And I remember that to this day, of being, okay, no seats, but just go through it, get it out. And he did that with me at a very young age. So, I'd say if anybody I'm thankful to, probably that is my hero of stuff that I'm able to do today and help me get out of my comfort zone. He was great in the guitar. I tried my hand at guitar, but I have no guitar ability in these hands. Not really. And so I'd say my stepdad. My stepdad was there for me.
It sounds like the path to where you are now wasn't clearly laid out, and you sort of carved your way in a lot of ways, and it sounds like you're self-taught. What are some of the difficulties or struggles that you encountered along that way?
Doing it self-taught, because you have to learn. Okay, if I could go back and do it again, I probably would have gone to broadcast school, which I tried, but I didn't have money at the time. And it was like, at the time for me, it was a lot. Right now, it's probably not that much, but at the time, it was $12,000, and I'm like, I don't know that I want to do this I just wanted to do voiceovers, to be honest. And along the way, yes, I was able to pave it, but it wasn't like, let me put it this way. Somebody once told me, and I met him, really great actor, Patrick Kilpatrick is his name. He plays the villain quite often. He was in Minority Report, and opposite of Jean-Claude Van Damme, usually the villain. He goes, when you do things in such a way, the right people, and you're meant to do it, or you put it out there, the right people will come to you at the right time. And at first I thought, okay, that was my first moment. And then several months later, I started to see that kind of happen systematically. And I started to become more aware that God, the universe, the thing that we can't explain helps us move us along our path in such a way. Because every time I wanted to throw in the towel, and I wanted to do it so many times, there was something saying, move forward, keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going. When you want to give up, keep going. I think one of the hardest things for me a couple times was just wanting to just end and stop. But then things just conspire and move you in a direction you go, I can't stop yet. So, things have kept me going when I wanted to give up, because life wants to tear you down.
Sure. Yeah, I'm always interested in how people rise out of, difficult situations, and also what brings them fulfillment in what they do, because one is moving away from and the other is moving towards. So I kind of want to go into the thing that you move towards, that you get fulfillment out of what you're doing now and what you're looking forward to in the future. But let's take a quick break and we'll be right back.
The legal process can be intimidating. You don't know where to start and you're unsure of what to expect. The attorneys and staff at the law offices of Scott Warmoth have been serving the San Gabriel Valley for over 35 years, helping people just like you navigate through the legal process and ensuring you're treated fairly. You can find them at law888.com or call 626-282-6868. That's 626-282-6868.
All right, we're back with Aaron Sanchez, and before the break, I was sharing with you that I'm always interested in people rising out of difficult situations, moving away, and what motivates people, what brings them fulfillment, and what are they moving towards. So, can you share a little bit of that with the listener?
Sure. I mean, professionally or life-changing, I've had a lot of those. I think for the typical person listening that wants to move forward in life, okay, for example, sometimes I don't like bringing up people's personal stories on entertainment because people view entertainment differently, right? I love talking about the stories of actors and such, but sometimes we get stuff about them breaking up, a divorce, and some people talk about it in such a way that you think everybody knows, there's some that I see broken up and I'm like, oh man, if they just, did this or that, maybe they can make it work, So I try to remember that no matter who's out there, they all have a personal story, whether they want it out there or not. And sometimes you don't know people's personal stories. And when you find out, you go, how are you still doing that? Like I had a co-host, I won't throw her name out there. She was going through a very dark time in her life. Her husband was battling a very bad cancer, and she had to show up and do, and you would never know. She was always bringing life to everybody else. And I didn't understand that until about more recent than not. And all of a sudden it's like every single day that is difficult, you can't let that on air, really. Sometimes you can, sometimes it's therapeutic. And then other times you're like, okay, let's just move throughout the day. So there's personal life challenges that come up, and then there's life changes that come up. Professionally, I think the only thing that I've ever had a hard time doing is trying to balance all the moving pieces all at once. When you do what I do, and if you talk to independent producers or movie producers or show producers or film producers, those that have to raise the funds, crowdfund them, or keep the money coming in, everybody thinks, oh, you get paid a big salary job. I don't. I self-produce, and I always tell people that. So when they see the ABC logo, they think, oh, ABC's picking up the tab. We're an affiliate of ABC. So sometimes getting that information out is hard, because back to business or business generating, you got to be your own salesperson when you do this type of thing. You've got to generate the income. You've got to get your own sponsors by going and hopefully making contact, and that takes time. you have all these moving pieces. You got to produce the content. You got to, schedule or find somebody that can help you schedule the guests, schedule them. And that's, 2 to 3 hours a day, just doing it properly, to get them where they got to go. There's so many moving pieces that if you do it all yourself, you'll go crazy. But if you have a team like you do, it's easier to move forward in it. It's hard to do it all by yourself. And sometimes I've had to do it all by myself and just figure it out. So I tell people that have the ability, especially with coronavirus, it has put us in a position. I had to help a TV station be able to do it virtually, to be able to not have anybody go in, but be able to tap into all the cameras to do it from their home, from another location, run the whole TV studio where I would turn everything on, all the lights and everything, and then have somebody from their home tap into the set through the internet and then be able to run the whole show virtually and live. And that was out of having to do it because I didn't want them, in coronavirus way, just in case. This was back in March and April. That was a challenge, but we made it work as a team. And it wasn't just me. It was the top talented people that go, okay, it's like NASA. How can we make this work, right? Because there's no instruction manual for it. Now there are instruction manuals, and now there's technologies that allow you to do that. But I've had those type of challenges, like how are we going to keep doing this with a limited or no budget studio? How are you going to do that? Okay, how are you going to keep the lights on? How are you going to produce? How are you going to bring the money in? Where's the money going to come from? And then you gotta go, okay, I gotta do the show, I gotta do that. Okay, what you want, so it's a lot of moving pieces to do your own content.
So with that, and if it's not the money, what motivates you to keep doing it?
Something. Sometimes I sit there and I go, why am I doing this? And sometimes I ask, and I still do pray, and I go, why am I doing this? And there are moments that keep me going based on the people that I meet or the challenges that I hear or the struggles that I hear. And I go, I'm not alone. Why am I stressing on this? Things will work out. People go, well, you have a show. What's so hard about that? I don't have a contract. I'm not ABC National. I'm not. So sometimes I do get into that frame mindset. Well, okay, this, that, and the other. So if it weren't for the Instagram or Facebook that go, I heard your segment and it helped improve my life, or it saved me from something. I had somebody, I'll give you a perfect example. My sister almost died from coronavirus late last year, early last year. And it was so bad that they were like, do you want us not to resuscitate? And she has special needs. So I have conservatorship of her, and my mom has conservatorship of her. And we were talking about coronavirus in March and April on my show when everybody else was like, is it real? Is it not real? Is it real? Is it not real? I'm like, my sister almost died from it. But I'm not gonna be that person to be like in your face. But I did have recommendations. Like if you have a certain thing, ask for end plate. It's a new drug. It was new as of last year that helps your her blood cell count went significantly down, and it was a new drug. It's like $2,300. The doctors didn't want to pay for it, but we kind of made them thanks to a family church friend, which actually said this is a new thing, it could help her. And after introducing that, her blood count went from a very bad 12,000. It's average supposed to be 150, 180,000. Mm-hmm. You will bleed out if you're at 12,000, and she hit that. They admitted the end plate. Every single day it doubled, and her blood count, 24,000. Her platelets began increasing ever since that, and she got well within 3 weeks. But in talking about that on the show, I had people hitting me up on Twitter. What was that thing called? Because I'm going through that right now. Oh, it's called end plate. Here it is. And I've gotten things like that. I've gotten people wanting to kill themselves. Because I talk about suicide prevention and how I myself had almost done that when I was out of my first marriage. And I'm very candid about that. So when I talk about those things and then I get the feedback from people that they're getting either helped or inspired, or they find something interesting or they find something helpful, I go, okay, all right, I get it. Like, I'm doing it because somebody needs something out there somehow, some way.
Yeah, you really get a sense of self value.
Yeah.
Yeah, that you helped somebody.
I think it's not because I wanted to say not of self-value. It's of if you're in it to help others, you'll go further. If you're in it to help yourself, do it, but understand that your true mission is to help others.
What would you say is a goal of your morning show?
It used to be just to be fun. I got handed the morning show out of nowhere, really. And I just wanted to keep it fun, entertaining, and you wake up in the morning and you get to have just fun, right? With sometimes guests that you're like, this is not fun to talk about, But I used to keep it very lighthearted. As of last year, it became very serious because all of a sudden it was like, how do you get lighthearted during coronavirus? How do you get lighthearted during the situation of, I hated talking about politics. I never talked about politics before April. And suddenly I found like it almost necessary to talk in this way because I felt people were getting the wrong bit of advice. Like if I had gotten the wrong advice from my sister, she'd be dead, and she got it twice, by the way.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Got COVID diagnosis twice.
Yeah, twice. And she was able to heal from it the second time better. But she could still get, the adult homes that she's in an adult home. They take care of her. She's 3 years younger than me. But they have to make sure the workers have to get sick. They still test them once a week or every other week, but if they get sick, the kids get sick and kids can get and have died from this, from coronavirus. So, as of late, the morning show has kind of evolved into, it's been more fun now, but it's still like a reminder of let's not throw caution to the wind. Let's be safe. I've been saying that ever since last March. And so I'd like to take it back into fun land, a fun show and just entertaining. But I almost feel like it's something I just need to kind of keep saying, yeah, but, like it's almost like I don't have to do news, but I feel it's necessary to keep throwing realistic information out versus just, hey, don't worry about it. Because I've had conversations with people going, that's just a thing here. But I go, yeah, but it's a thing everywhere. Like we have India right now spiking in a very big surge, very, very massively. And we have viewers from India. I just spoke to somebody a week and a half ago because I'm creating a new online platform for, movie rentals. But he's from India and he suffered from coronavirus. Well, now it's 4 weeks ago, but you could hear it in his chest really bad. And he was supposed to help me set it up last week, but he hasn't been able to because I could tell he's not feeling good. That was 4 weeks ago. It got into his chest, lungs. He's not dead, thank God. But the recovery for some is really bad. So then I go, okay, I almost lost my job a couple times because other broadcasters were like, no, you're because they were very one wing versus another wing, and like, no, stop talking about that. And I'm like, I'm not going to stop talking about it. If I'm right, that's not good. If I'm wrong, I would rather be wrong and be proven wrong, and it all be a hoax and nobody gets sick, rather than be proven right. But in the meantime, why don't we throw some caution out there? Just a little caution, just a little, and then we'll be more ahead than not, But there you go.
How much do you need to prep for your show?
That depends. I used to prep a lot. And sometimes I get too nervous for it that I realize some of the grades just, you need to know, and then you need to just do. Sometimes I don't get long interviews like this. I wish I had long interviews. Maybe I got to go back to that, but I get usually 5 to 10 minute interviews. So I got to get it. So usually the publicists, when they do schedule certain things, they have kind of an outline of what they want you to talk about, right? What the person's promoting, or featuring, or the book. But what I have found is sometimes the best interviews come from ones where you don't necessarily plan. You know the overview, but then you just let it evolve.
Right.
Sure. Well, That seems kind of fun. If I had a morning show and I can pick the topics and keep it lighthearted, that seems like it would be really fun.
But I bet it's very stressful and tiring too. I mean, every day, Monday through Friday, or
religiously. Yeah.
Yeah. I think of that pressure, I mean, you've got to be on. And like you say, you can't bring, if your whole life is falling apart personally, well, that just has to be put aside.
Yeah.
Because you've got your on-air personality that, I mean, that's what you have to present. And it must be very difficult.
I've had co-hosts literally where I go at the end and I go, are you okay? Because it came out on the air. What's going on? And they're like, oh, my family, this and that. I'm like, okay, let's talk it out, because that on the air is just going to hurt me. And some people view it as funny, but I go, but this is a person's life, so let me take care of this individual. And I've had those moments where it's just, it's people just living their life. And when you come to talk radio, sometimes people can be a little raw. And sometimes it works, and sometimes it's just like, okay, can we talk after? Because I think we need to help you. So I've gone into motivational speaking and motivational things, and that's taken me out. But as of late, I haven't done much of that. But I used to be called on certain things to do motivational speaking and motivational, and that's, that's worth it. I think during coronavirus, I think people really kind of go, am I doing the right thing, what I'm doing? But then I have to go, how many people, back to a morning show, like you said, it's a blessing just to have that. So I take all the other stuff away and I go, okay, reminder, like some people go to school and never get that. And it just happens. So I have to remind myself, okay, until they kick me off literally and I have no more forum, but now I have Facebook, you have everything else, you still have a forum. So I don't know. And then getting to meet the people that you get to meet along the way. Some you do business with, some you don't see for a while, and then some, they still stay connected,
Yeah.
So,
well, with all the guests and interviews and people that I'm sure that you get a lot of input on places to see and visit and try. Mm-hmm. So I'm very interested to see some of your places in the San Gabriel Valley.
So Aaron, we have our SGV3. What are those 3 places that you like to go, or the 3 things you like to do, 3 experiences you've had in the San Gabriel Valley?
Whenever I have somebody visiting from out of town, and I've had a few that I've helped out, I always recommend the Huntington Library. Always recommend. And they go, or they don't do that little face, but you see why a library? Why is it so... Why do you want me to take it? Because I remember being taken for the very first time. I had lived here for a long time until I was, I think, 15 or 16. I had a good friend. His name's Andy. And he's like, dude, you've never checked out the Huntington Library? And I'm like, I don't think I want to. In my head, I think I said that. And then he goes, we got to go. We got to go check it out. I go, he goes, it's beautiful. It's gorgeous. It's amazing. You just got to see it. And the moment I went, I was like, this is here in the San Gabriel Valley. This is amazing. I think it's like 180 acres of Mr. Huntington, actually, right? He and then they have the special, well, when they did have it, when you could walk through it, the special Bibles there, history, the botanical gardens, the Japanese botanical gardens. They have now the Chinese botanical gardens. Think of beauty, and then think of just, it's all right there. And it used to be donation only, but now it's like you pay a certain amount, or you have to make an appointment online or do it in person and buy the tickets online.
Now because of COVID.
Yeah. But
right.
you're not able to walk into the actual places where they have special art. They have the Blue Boy, I think is what his name is, the Pink Girl, and other things. But sometimes I just went there like a month and a half ago just to veg out, just to like unwind and just be like, and you got just the nature around you, and it's so serene and so beautiful, right? I mean, you've been there, right?
Oh yeah. I know when my daughter comes home, she will go there, 5-6 days a week, and
it's worth it.
Spend a couple hours. Yeah,
it's worth it. I think the second one that I would recommend in the San Gabriel Valley, it's funny, I stick to Pasadena a lot now that I think about it.
As you should, because it is the finest city in the valley.
It's a beautiful city. I mean, you've got everything here. You've got Old Town. I have some of my favorite memories back to high school memories where, we'd hang out in Old Town down in Colorado, and just, but it's changed since coronavirus. A lot of things have closed down. A lot of things have now I feel bad for business owners right now that are trying to make ends meet.
Yeah.
I will say, and I say this to the families that are out there, whether you do social distancing or not, you've got kids that get a little stir crazy. And Odyssey Games in Pasadena used to be GameStop.
Okay.
I think it was called GameStop or Games.
Yeah, I remember Games. Where is that? GameStop.
On Colorado Boulevard. It's right next to the Pasadena City College. It's just east of the Pasadena City College, like 2 blocks.
It used to be Pac-Man Arcade.
Yes.
Long time ago.
Back in the day, it used to be Pac-Man Arcade. Then it became one which I would drive by and I'm like, they had like little things in the window, and I'm like, okay, I don't know what that is. And recently, I said something just motivated me to go in there, and I was like, this is great. So you've got any type of like board game. They got chess, they got Scrabble, and they've got and I know the kids get this, Pokemon, right? Pokemon card games are important. Some just collect and have fun with it. Target doesn't like Pokemon, evidently, based on the fact that people fight for the cards, because somebody's making sales online, I'm sure. But it takes gaming back to the point where you use your mind. Magic the Gathering is a very online and offline popular thing. We go back to baseball cards or football cards, right? But trading cards or creating games from cards that you get and doing strategy. They've got this game area in the back of the store where you can meet with friends for free and play these games and be like, hey, what game do you have? And there's all these ones doing safely, all with face masks. And when I discovered that, I go, this is great for kids everywhere. So I promote it on the show just for free. They're not paying me, but I'm just like, get your kids back into some of these cool mind thinking off the devices. I love PlayStation. I love all the, Xbox. I love that. I love to talk about that, but get the kids back to the fun of imagination, strategizing, and you can go 2, 3, 4 hours playing some of these games with friends, family. Maybe it's not the chess, because chess might be boring to a lot of these kids, but it's the new thing. And they have this right here in Pasadena, and they have Monday nights and Friday nights and get-togethers, and people come in. I've seen people I've seen Army vets come in because they have now these figures that you could paint and you can make, and then you roll the dice, and then you take a tape measure. Warhammer is one of them, and some others that they have. And this guy, I kid you not, probably I want to say he served Vietnam. I know we were talking. I think he was like 78. And he brought in all of his models, and he had painted them, and they were all these little army things they have these setups. It's really cool. And you go against the other person, you roll the dice, and your battalion shoots
cool.
it that way. But it's all imagination, and then you kind of roll the dice. What did you get? Okay, so it's kind of like a Dungeons and Dragons, but army style. And so he's using his thinking mind as I could tell he was a general, and he was a general in the army, but he's like, and he was winning the table. I was like, so if I put a bet on it, I would have put a bet on him. But it was just fun, and it's all right here in Pasadena.
Was his last name MacArthur?
Something like that. Yeah. I didn't.
Maybe Patton.
I forgot. Yeah. He was. Yeah. But so that would be my second place.
What is the name of that again?
Yeah. Odyssey Games in Pasadena. It got bought by a man who, him and his wife did it together. He died, I think, 2 years ago. And I think his wife sold it to the new ones that are rolling it. But if you look at the interior, it's like going in, and the walls are painted like a castle, and you got dragons, and you got this area up on the top where you can just sit and kind of imagine. Then you got another room which is like a forest theme, and it's just very thematic. And you go in, and you just go in there and just ask the people there, what's a fun game to play, or murder mystery, or like Clue, but what's the new thing? And it's just fun for kids and families, or just adults. Yeah. Oh, and then the third one would be Tommy's Burger. Sorry, I just got hungry right now.
Right.
No. I think the third one would be.
Where is Tommy's Burger? There's many of them.
Yeah, the one I'm thinking is on Hill.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Again, everything's near Pasadena City College.
Yeah.
There's something about Pasadena that's just so magical. If you got out of Pasadena, I'm thinking. I don't know. I think when I think of people that are watching from outside of the San Gabriel Valley, and then they're here, what do you do, right? Yeah. And I mean, there's Arboretum. I took my mom to the Arboretum in Arcadia. That's in San Gabriel Valley. Sure. I just did that. She's like, "This is here. This is beautiful." You know, you saw like I forgot what we saw there, but animals and
peacocks.
Peacocks. That's what we saw. A peacock. I don't know if that was the first time she had seen a peacock, but it was just there, and it was like, fan out. It was like, I don't want to fan out. I just want to stay here with you. But I think that's the fun of the San Gabriel Valley, finding the little hidden gems that are among all the shopping centers. And Pasadena has a lot of sweet heritage, and the San Gabriel Valley does. Oh, Mission. Sorry, let me go back. Yeah. The San Gabriel Mission, although it got burnt recently, there's a lot of history there, and I may not be Catholic, but I did like a walk through there, and I was just like, there is so much history in the San Gabriel Valley, so much old ancient history too, that sometimes we drive past it and we don't even realize. Well, that's one of the was here before us.
3 or 4 or 5 original missions in the state of California.
Mm-hmm. Is it?
Oh yeah, it's one of the very first. Mm-hmm. I mean, that was where LA was first, I guess, populated. You know, it was the mission.
That makes sense.
San Gabriel Mission.
It's the inspiration for the logo too of the show.
Oh, well then I'm glad I mentioned it.
Well, you lose points for mentioning it because you only get 3 and you said like 5.
Oh, sorry. Take Tommy's out of there then. Tommy's Burger. If you haven't had it, have a chili burger. It's good.
So Aaron, what's on the horizon for you? What's next?
Currently I'm actually working on revitalizing Hollywood Social Lounge. I'm actually getting the new online portal of films for film friends that have been wanting to do that. That's in the works, and then next is just making the show everything it can be, and then hopefully figuring out what comes down the line. I'd love to do more hosting, on-air personality type stuff and such, but I'm open. I think I'm at a stage in my life where sometimes I feel like I'm starting over every day, and so just trying to make things work as you go along. I wish there was a path already laid out that says you're going to do this, but I think that's all of our paths. Sometimes you don't know where you're going the next day, and you hope things go in the proper direction.
Sure. And for the listeners, how can they find you? How can they get in touch with you?
Oh, Aaron M. Sanchez on all platforms. Pretty much, you look at that, you'll find me. Even on Snapchat, although I haven't used it in a while. So.
Well, Aaron, thank you so much for being on the show with us and sharing about your life, your journey, your show, and the things that motivate you and keep you going. I really appreciate that.
Yep. Thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you for the listeners for tuning in again to this show. We mentioned the listener again in France. And the only reason we know that it's a listener is because we have listeners downloading all over the world, I think in every continent, and I don't know how many countries, maybe over 30 countries. Mm-hmm. But for certain, there is a listener in France who listens to every episode or many episodes. So,
you can actually track that, huh?
Yeah.
How many shows they listen to?
I love that about the analytics.
Yeah.
It's we.
Yeah.
So, check out our next episode next week, and we'll have some more interesting guests for you. But we appreciate this time, and thank you again, Aaron.
Thank you for having me.
Mm-hmm. Thanks for checking out another episode of the SGV Master Key. You can find the full back catalog of the SGV Master Key at sgvmasterkey.com and wherever you get your podcasts. This show was produced and edited by Russell Mono and Victoria Allers of Kind Monster Productions. Thanks again for listening or watching. We'll see you again real soon in the next episode.
Nice mother. No, kind mother.